Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, and we're really happy that you're here. We want to use this amazing opportunity for you to type any questions you have into the chat. It can be about Chen's high school, college, his trajectory into medical school from college, his path from high school to college. Chen attended Hunter College High School in Manhattan. He then attended Columbia University. After graduation, he attended Harvard Medical School and is now, I believe, can you tell us exactly where you are right now in your path?
Yeah, sure. I'm in the last year of my ND MBA program and applying to residency right now.
So please use this opportunity. You can type any questions you have about his academic trajectory. And, and just know it's something we're really honored that you're here. Chen, it's been a great journey. As I let you over the stage, I do want to share that it's been really great because you got to watch my growth and I got to watch yours. And I hope you come visit the new Queller Prep location. It's pretty nice. Some of the kids can vouch for that. All right, so everyone, please feel free, type any questions you have into the chat box.
I can already see the questions coming in, so this is great. I'm gonna keep let's make sure all the other windows are muted so everyone can hear the audio clearly. So I'm gonna keep my bio background short so I can spend more time answering your questions because I think that should be the focus of today's session. Just to preface the conversation, I've been working with Queller, with Francis for a very long time. It kind of boggles my mind how far back we go. And it's a great opportunity always to help Francis out and also to talk to some of the people who are up and coming. So great to see you all tonight. Hope you're doing safe. Hope you're safe, hope you're well. And looking forward to, I guess, your school semester must be starting soon. So a little about me. I was born in China, moved to New York when I was 2.5. Both my parents are scientists. So when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time hanging out at Mount Sinai Hospital where they both worked. I was always interested in science, and in elementary school, I went to Hunter, went all the way through to high school, and started doing research in high school, first at Mount Sinai, and then Sloan Kettering. Continued research into college. I went to Columbia for college, and at Columbia, I decided that I wanted to go to med school and become a doctor. So that happened second year. I went straight through to Harvard Med School. I did a combination of clinical research and basic science research in college, which set me up pretty well for med school. I can talk about like the other aspects of my application that I feel contributed to my success in getting into med school. And then I can also talk about my time in med school, which has been great so far. I decided in medical school that I really liked internal medicine, particularly cardiology, which is why I'm applying into internal medicine first. And along the way, I actually acquired a passion for entrepreneurship. So in my second year of medical school, I decided to apply into an MD MBA program at Harvard. And I am in the last year of that 5-year program. And we'll be done with the school part of my, the early part of my career, going into residency next year. So I'll take a pause there. I probably glossed over a lot of things that all of you are interested in. I can see the questions coming in. So maybe I'll just go through them one by one. And then Francis, feel free to jump in at any time. If there are any particular questions that you want me to focus on, you can also see the questions as well, right? Great. So
I want the kids to really take charge. So students, everyone, parents, whoever's listening, type questions into the chat. It's important that you can ask any questions about his academic trajectory here. So enjoy, guys. So I'm actually not going to talk that much. Believe it or not, that's possible. And I really do want, the kids to take charge. Let's go. Ask away.
Okay, so starting with the first question from Howard Liu. how did you keep up your grades in high school and manage your time? So I think I'll focus on the second part of that question because it relates to the first one. The first one is you got to work hard in high school to keep your grades up. For the second part, I think you have to prioritize your time and decide what you want to do in high school. It's still very early on, and by no means do you have to decide what you want your career to be, what you want your passions to be. But you do want to be in some clubs. You do want to engage in extracurricular activities that demonstrate that you are passionate about some things that you can show later on in your college applications. What I did in high school, extracurricular wise, is I played piano a lot. I was on the swim team. I was part of a couple of clubs, including Key Club, Engineering Club, Chess Club, and I did some research during the summer and during the year. Those were the things I focused on. And I would say first and foremost, your grades are important, but close on the heels of that, you should really think about what gets you excited and how do you learn more about those things and delve into them in such a way that you can show that you've had that interest throughout high school in your college applications. So hopefully I answered that question. And then in terms of the grades, it's mainly just the fact that you have to manage your time wisely and make sure you have enough time to do well in your classes. How did you know what you wanted to do with your life? This is a great question. And I think if you ask most people, they will say they didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives, or that has changed many times throughout parts of their career. So for me, like I said in my intro, I've always been steeped in science because both my parents were scientists. So I knew that I had interest in science from the very beginning. What I didn't know was whether I wanted to be a scientist or a doctor or a physician scientist or something else entirely. And so part of high school was doing a lot of research at Mount Sinai, at Sloan Kettering, to get a sense of whether research was something that I enjoyed and was deeply passionate about. I liked it enough, and in college I continued to do research. And it's an important facet of what's made me who I am and how I've gotten this far. But later on in college, how I eventually decided to go to medical school is because I started working in the hospital and I talked with patients. I got to see what makes medicine really gratifying, which is to meet patients at the hardest times of their lives and provide comfort and healing. And that's something that really, really attracted me and that I found really appealing. So I ended up going to medical school. So I would say you don't need to know what you want to do with your life. Even in high school, even like in college, some people switch careers later on. But what you do decide to do in high school and college, you want to put your 100% or 110% effort into. That is very important. What is a MBA? It's a Master's in Business Administration. What extracurricular activities do you recommend for a sophomore in high school interested in pre-med? These are great questions. So I would say what is important is to know what it means to be a doctor. And to some extent, you have to actually engage with patients. That can come in the form of volunteering. Some of you may be really great musicians. And so there are programs at hospitals around New York City where you can play music for patients and interact with them in that way. Other hospitals will have volunteer programs where you can talk with patients and do all kinds of things. So if you're interested in pre-med, number one, you have to understand what it means to take care of patients and find ways to learn that for yourself. The other thing that medical schools really want to see from you is a lot of them will want to see research. And so to the extent that you can get involved in research earlier on, one, that will help answer the question of whether you want to do research, and two, that will demonstrate that you've taken initiative early on and really tried to contribute to whatever field that you're doing research in and demonstrate that you have this strong interest. Let's see. For a freshman high school, what will your suggestion for them in preparing to college application? It's a pretty big question, I would say. If I were to bucket it into several categories, number one, you want to demonstrate that you're a solid student. So what does that mean? That means you have to get good grades. So that is definitely a priority. Your GPA is going to be important for applying to college, but by no means is that the end all be all. So the second bucket that you would focus on is your extracurriculars, and that comes in several flavors. You can engage in athletics. A lot of people spend a lot of time in high school focusing on athletics, and they may apply to colleges as a they may get into colleges as part of the team for whatever sport that they're engaged in. If not athletics, then there are other extracurriculars, all kinds of things from journalism to debate to research to volunteering to starting various organizations. I think the common thread that colleges would like to see is that you've demonstrated initiative and that you've gone up and above and beyond what people would expect a high school student necessarily to do. Whatever way you are able to differentiate yourself, I think that's something that is spectacular and that you should be proud of if you're able to achieve that. What do you plan on doing with your dual degree? I want to lead a hyphenated career as a physician and an entrepreneur. First and foremost, I want to take care of patients, understand what their needs are, and use my clinical experience to inform what areas of medicine that I want to be at the forefront of as an entrepreneur. I want to be in the business of making medicines and bringing therapies, innovative therapies from bench to bedside. And being in the hospital, there are so many things that could be improved, new therapies that can help patients, unsolved, uncurable diseases as of yet that may be cured in the future. There's so much left to do in the field of medicine, and what I want to be a part of and a leader in is bringing those innovations directly to patients. What kind of medical-related volunteering work did you do during high school and university? So at Columbia, I signed up to be a patient rounding volunteer at St. Luke's Hospital on the Upper West Side. What that entailed was I would be assigned to a floor, and I would go into every single patient's room and ask them how they were doing, if they needed something, if they had any questions I could direct to the team, and basically be a companion during a time when they were during a time of their lives that assuredly it was incredibly difficult. That was a major part of the volunteering work I did in college. The other part of my clinical related work in college came in the form of being a clinical research coordinator. And so what a clinical research coordinator does is help a principal investigator, someone who is in charge of a lab, direct their studies, enroll patients, manage the data that's collected over the course of each research project that PI is investigating, and help in the process of writing papers. So out of that position, I was able to write a couple of papers on which I was first author of, for one. And it was a really, really instrumental part of my college experience. So in terms of how many students each year get into Columbia or Harvard for pre-med, my understanding is that there's no pre-med track for Columbia or Harvard. There are classes that you have to take in order to get into medical school. But in terms of the students each year, I believe that varies. And I think the more important question is to understand how to optimize your own transcript and your own extracurriculars so that you have the best shot of getting into Harvard or Columbia. While in Columbia University, how did you prepare for admission to medical school? Besides Mcats, research, what extracurricular activities helped you get into Harvard? So for medical school, the Mcat is a big checkbox that needs that you need to prioritize sometime during college. What I did is not necessarily what I would recommend to everyone. The semester in which I took my Mcat, I was taking 6 classes, doing research, working a part-time job, and studying for the Mcat from the evenings, from like 7 p.m. to like 2 a.m. at night. That was the life that I had for 2 or 3 months. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but the Mcat is a difficult test and it requires a lot of time to prepare for. And in terms of research, I continued working in the research lab that I was part of in high school at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and that was a great shoe-in from high school. In terms of extracurricular activities, besides research, I was on the leadership for various volunteering organizations, including Habitat for Humanity, and an organization that I helped run that provided mentorship for kids affected by stressful life events at home, particularly Asian Americans. And I also did volunteering in the hospital, as I mentioned, at St. Luke's. I volunteered at an HIV clinic at Mount Sinai. And I would say those are the bulk of the activities that I did. I think what made me stand out as an applicant were my test scores, my transcript, and the research that I had done. I think if I were to highlight those three, the couple of things that really made me stand out, those were the things that made me stand out. But I would caveat that by saying that there's no recipe for getting into medical school. If I look at all my classmates at Harvard Med School, everyone has a different and unique path. People have different passions, and it's natural that they follow different paths to demonstrate those passions. Some people spend some time abroad. They did global health work. They worked in the Peace Corps. They spent a year away as a Fulbright scholar. Some people got a PhD before they went to medical school, and they had dozens of research papers. Other people were involved in public health initiatives. I have a classmate who helped draft the Affordable Care Act. There are some incredible things that my classmates have done, and they all fall into different buckets of the healthcare field. And so I don't think any of you should follow a set recipe necessarily to get into college or medical school. Instead, what you should ask yourself is what makes you excited, what interests you, and what do you want to spend your time doing? And then focus your time on being the best at whatever it is you're interested in. That really makes you stand out. Did you take prep classes? I mean, I would say I wish I had Queller Prep going through high school and college, but all of my test prep was done independently. What subjects did you take in your undergrad school each year to prepare for admission to medical school? So I think for this question, I'm just going to answer it very briefly. That information is available on the the college's websites, whatever college uh, you're in. And so what I would say is take some classes outside of the pre-med track. Take coding classes, take international relations, take astrophysics, take things that you like and that you want to talk about. If I think back to some of my medical school interviews, I would say half of them were not even about my research. Half of them were just about who I was as a person and what I liked doing. I talked a lot. I can count maybe 3 or 4 interviews where I talked about philosophy and Kant and Rousseau and a bunch of other authors that I read as part of classes at Columbia. So there is a set of classes that you have to take in order to get into medical school. But there are a lot of other things that you should take advantage of in college. How did you do well on all your standardized Psat, SAT, Mcat tests, and if you would share your scores? I think my scores are available in my bio. And in terms of how I prepped for these tests, each test is different. And I think you have to go into the test preparatory phase with a plan in mind. There's nothing more important than getting practice. And I know that Queller Prep offers a lot of practice questions and practice tests. That's incredibly important. If you aren't facile with the questions, how they're asked and what they're looking for, you're not going to do well on these tests. Number 2, you really have to understand what areas they're going to ask about. Maybe for yourself, you can map out where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, and then focus time on your weaknesses. I remember when I was studying for my Mcat, I did really, really well on the science portions. But what I could have done better on, what I needed to do better on, were some of the humanities related portions. And so I drilled those questions again and again. I think I did maybe 2 books worth of questions just on the verbal section of Mcat. And that ended up being one of my best sections on the Mcat. So get an understanding of what the test is like, actually do questions that are from the test, and tackle your weaknesses. There's no need for you to focus on your strengths, focus on your weaknesses. What do you suggest doing if we're not allowed to do research in a lab, etc., due to COVID? So yeah, that's tough. You know, you may not be able to do research in a basic science lab because of COVID. You may not be able to do certain volunteer-related work because of COVID. But what you could do is, if you're truly interested in the research, you can identify what professors you'd like to work with and set up those connections up front so that when you do have the opportunity to do research, you have that lined up for yourself. In addition to basic science research, you could also do clinical research, which doesn't involve working with test tubes and pipettes and plates and cell culture and things like that. It involves doing biostatistical analysis on data sets, taking patient data and doing all kinds of modeling with that data. That's something you can do at home from a computer. So if you're good at math, if you're really good at statistics, that's something that's really valuable for COVID. I mean, when you take a look at the most impactful research that has come out of the COVID related era, it's been the public health research. What do people need to do to stay safe? What are the measures that need to be implemented on a statewide, on a national level to help people stay safe? These are things that aren't done in research labs. They're things that are done using computers, modeling, and collaboration. So to the extent that you can get involved in that and are interested in that, that's something that you can do. What hospital did you work in? What did you do in the hospital? Why did you choose an MBA? Does that mean you will work in an administrative position in the hospital? So lots of questions here. I answered the first two questions. Why did you choose an MBA? So I answer that question as well, but maybe I can speak a little bit more to it. I may work in an administrative position in the hospital. I would say I'm not closing any doors at this point. There are lots of things that I'm passionate about, and something that people eventually have to do in their careers is prioritize what they care most about. And so that door is still open to me. I would say what I'm really interested in is in the business of making medicines. And that doesn't necessarily take place in the hospital. It's certainly in collaboration with academic investigators, with hospitals around the country. What you have to do is run clinical trials. You have to engage in research to develop drugs. You have to figure out how to take the drugs and make them safe for patients, how to get them to patients, how to market them. They're all different facets of entrepreneurship. And I'm sure you can also ask Frances about her path as an entrepreneur. How did you do the research area? I'm not sure what that question means. What kind of research did you do at Mount Sinai during high school, and how did you get the opportunity? So at Mount Sinai, I did research on the stem cell niche in hair follicles, and I reached out to the professor that I was interested in working with. Only an MBA would allow you to be an innovator. No, definitely not. Definitely not. You can be an innovator as just an MD. You can be an innovator as a PhD. But what an MBA allows you to do is to build the network and the connections to get you into doors. It allows you to train your managerial skills to lead teams and to inspire people to be just as passionate about something as you are. It also allows you time, especially if you're a busy medical student who's working above 80 hours a week in the hospital, to take some time away from the one-track highway that you've been on for a long time and to explore other interests. For me, I did internships at a venture capital fund with over $1 billion under management. I did an internship at a medical device incubator where I invented therapies, I designed clinical trials, and I helped commercialize various medical devices. So those are things that an MBA gives you time to do. But certainly, you don't need an MBA to be an innovator. Since you went to Hunter, I assume you did research for the SRS cohort. So I think I know what that means. And this makes me feel old because the SRS cohort happened after I went through Hunter, or it happened towards the end of my time at Hunter. So unfortunately, I can't really speak that much to the SRS cohort. Currently applying to university researchers myself. I'm not sure what that question means. So I got a question about what my essay was about for Harvard and Columbia. So without delving too deep into the details, my essay for Columbia was about my passion for science and research. For Harvard, my essay was about one of the really impactful experiences I had caring for a patient or participating in the care of a patient. I have fell in love with pre-med track and how doctors are able to communicate with patients about certain medical issues. A question that I do have is, am I able to put these programs in my college application? I don't see why not. If it's something that you love, why wouldn't you include it in your college application? Question from Howard Liu. I think this is the third question. Great job, Howard, in asking great questions. Were there any habits that really helped you? I think you have to be good at time management. There are so many things that can pull your attention away in high school and college, anytime in your life. And you have to understand what you care about and focus your time on that. So I say time management is really important. The other habit I would say is, this is not really a habit, more like a piece of advice. The more advanced you get, the more important the relationships you build become. Really, there are a lot of talented people out there in the world. All of you probably are incredibly talented. I don't doubt that. But what means the difference, all the difference in someone getting the job of their lives or making a huge breakthrough, working in a research lab that just happens to do spectacular stuff, is who you know and how to get your foot in the door. And I don't mean to like focus on building relationships with that end goal in mind. I mean to take time in your life to focus on friendships and like identify mentors who you know are going to be in your corner when you need them. That's, I think, an incredibly important piece of advice that I wouldn't want. If there's anything that I want you to take away from this, it's that like people are really important and they will show you, they will advocate for you, and they will show you what you should do to get to where you want to be. So don't discount that in high school and college. Hunter College. I'm going to skip over that question. I took my Mcat during my second year. I prepared for my Mcat by doing practice questions and looking at standardized test prep materials. Finding a research lab for a high schooler is not easy. Can you share how you got into the lab and any tips for current high schoolers who are trying to find a lab for summer research? So there are a couple of paths, right? I believe Hunter has a program, and Stuyvesant has a program, and other schools have programs that have formed connections with labs in New York City. I can't really speak to the details of those programs because I only know them for Hunter, but ask your teachers, ask your classmates. I would say that both of those are probably good resources. People in the grades above you and teachers who have mentored generations of students like yourself. The other thing you can do is, I believe there are a lot of programs out there, summer programs that give you a taste of what it's like to do research. And so I know Sloan Kettering has a program. I know Rockefeller has a program. Those applications are due in December or January, and you don't need to have research experience to go through those programs. The other thing that you can do, and this can be a hit or miss, is you can just cold email professors. Some of them are really interested in mentorship. And you'd be surprised how much luck you might have with that. Yeah, you might not be successful the first time around, but if you keep at it, I'm sure you'll find some measure of success. Do you recommend having a side job in college? I would say that is probably a person by person. That's probably an answer or question that would need to be answered on a person by person basis. There are some people who need to work part-time jobs to pay for college. There are some people who have part-time jobs that fall under what they're interested in. So I can't really answer that without knowing more details. Oh, my major in college was biochemistry. How much time do you spend playing the piano? Well, I don't play as much as I would want to anymore, but I used to play 2 hours a day. Did you have anybody read your supplemental essays? Anyone you would suggest? No one off the top of my head. I'm sure Francis could link you with some people. But definitely have people read your supplemental essays. I mean,
I want to quickly chime in here that Chen does have quite a lot of years of experience as a tutor. We definitely, Chen, should circle back on that. I think the kids would love to hear about your own journey as a tutor as well. And I guess I'm curious to hear your response. How did you balance working part-time at Queller, going to school, taking breaks, working? So I would be curious if you could speak about how you yourself balanced a part-time job as well, and why did you choose this as your part-time job?
Great questions, Francis. So let me start by saying that it is a privilege to be able to help students like yourselves go further along the path to achieving what you want to do, whatever it is. And there's nothing better than a sense of gratification when you see students do well on tests or do well on college applications. And I've had plenty of students, lots of students, do both. And I guess what makes education, tutoring, really great is that you get to make a meaningful impact on people's lives. How I balance that is I did spend my summers working at Queller part-time. During the year, during my school years, I did work for Queller. I tutored kids in private lessons, and I could only take a couple of students. And so it wasn't like I was working 20 hours a week, but I did have an opportunity to work with several students every semester. I've been at Queller, I've been helping out at Queller for a long time now. And I would say that being a teacher is just as much teaching others as learning things yourself. And you get to understand what is the right way to design classes to help students. And over time, it just gets a little bit more efficient and quicker on your end to plan those classes. And so there was a learning curve to working for Queller. And then it goes back to time management. So Francis, did I answer your question? But if there are, I am happy to make my email available to people with additional questions. I certainly...
just so that you don't get overwhelmed, let's hold off on
Exactly.
the email because we have the Queller email. So parents, you're welcome to email me and then I'll reroute if necessary. I just don't want there to be any confusion with the email. So let's hold off on that.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Can you speak about your tutoring? Oh, that was your question. Yeah, so I guess like just to close the loop on the tutoring experience, what I have a lot of experience with is tutoring for the Hunter exam. Um, I don't know in recent years well, I do know that Quella Prep is very good at preparing students for the Hunter exam. And while I won't delve into details of my own track record, I would say that the Hunter exam is one aspect of my tutoring that I really do take pride in, not just because it's my alma mater, because it is a hard exam to prepare for. And there are nuances that are helpful to know about. And then I have had a lot of experience prepping students for SAT exams, both subject tests and these SAT 1 with general tutoring in chemistry or physics or writing in high school, or even with the Mcat. So all those things I have had experience with. Is your attitude important when applying to school, or really anything in general? It's an interesting question. Yes, it is important. Did you apply early decision to Columbia? No, I did not. How many hours a week would you hang out with friends, watch some TV, or even play some games? I can tell where this question is coming from, and yes, you can hang out with friends. That's really important. You can watch TV. You can play games. It's really important to strike a balance in life, and plan accordingly. So each week is different, so I can't give you a single number, but I do prioritize making sure that I keep up with my friends because they're incredibly important in my life. Are students in medical school competitive? Is it very cutthroat? No, not at all. I can only speak to Harvard, but everyone at Harvard is spectacular and we're all very supportive. One example of that is when it came to preparing for step 1, which is the first part of 4 parts of boarding for physicianship. Everyone shared resources and notes on a Google Drive. So no, people, that's much of a thing in the past, or maybe some schools that I am unaware of. What do you recommend including in emails sent to professors asking for mentorship opportunities? Tell the professor why you're interested, what relevant experience you have, maybe even suggest some things you've thought about related to their research, questions you have, ideas that you have. And one strategy that I found helpful when reaching out to people is not necessarily to start with an ask, because you may be hit or miss with that. I would say start out with like why you find their research to be interesting. If they would have time to like talk to you about the research because you have some questions that you'd love to hear their thoughts on. This is something that you're really interested in, and you would really appreciate the opportunity to find out more. I think that method is a little bit more successful than just straight up asking for an internship. Suggest yourself. I'm happy to help out to the extent that I can. Can you please tell us how you were able to take Mcat in your second year? Oh, I took organic chemistry in high school, and I finished the second half of organic chemistry in my first year of college. When did you start working in institutional centers? In 10th grade. Francis, are you offering Mcat prep? We run okay. What year should the students start? prepping for Mcat? I would say budget a couple months window to prepare for the Mcat. You don't need to prepare over an entire year's worth of time. Maybe like 8 weeks is enough, 8 to 12 weeks. Do you have to be in honors program? And I don't know what that means. Do you have photographic memory? I wish I did. I have a pretty good memory though. But it would certainly make life pretty much easier if I had a photographic memory. Is Young Arts Award prestigious? I mean, any award that you have adds to your profile. These are, well, thank you everyone for attending. Like I said, I've been where you are, and I understand the anxieties and the stressors and all the things to look forward to. And I always love the opportunity to speak to people who are excited or passionate, who are undoubtedly going to do amazing things with their lives. So to the extent that this was helpful to all of you, I take great pride and gratitude in that. I'm grateful for all of you. And I think you should give yourselves a pat on the back for being so engaged this early on. It's really, really incredible. I did take the GRE. The GRE is kind of like the SAT, so I maybe studied for a week. No more than I think I studied for 20 hours for the GRE. Who takes the GRE? People going to grad school, some programs want to see a GRE, some MBA programs, other graduate degrees. We still have 5 minutes. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer any other questions with the remaining time left. And Francis, if you want to chime in with questions of your own, or if you have thoughts and you want me to steer the direction a certain way, also happy to do that.
I want to just say thank you so much. And guys, just quickly type in what grade you're in. I think it'll be nice for Chen to know who his audience was, okay? So that'll be really cool. And thank you so much. And I hope you get to visit. Some of the kids in this audience have seen the new Queller Prep, so it's really nice. So I'm excited about that. And it's definitely been great. Thank you for this time, this energy, for doing this from Massachusetts. Thank you for this Zoom universe colliding. I'm very happy. And look at that.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. I'm in a virtual room with 65 other people.
It was more. We were up there. But look, you have 6th graders, 9th graders. So thank you so much for giving so many people your time and energy and attention. And that's it. And I just want to remind you guys that, you should continue to aim high. And a few of you who might be interested in any private tutoring lessons, please contact me. I don't want to bombard Chen with a lot of emails, so they'll contact me and I'll be happy to help coordinate if you do want to review your college applications or the Hunter essays. I just think Chen is just so well suited for that area and just so much great feedback above the many, many subjects that he's also tutored in, including college level sciences, a lot of compliments from that too. I want to say thank you to everyone for listening and for being part of this webinar. And Chen, thank you again. And it's been great. It's been really cool watching your growth and mine. And I'm glad that we're able to unite. And that's it. Michelle, you want to come say bye? Come say bye. Come fast. Okay, so that's it. So Chen actually knew me before I even had kids. Here, say bye. Chen's a doctor. Say bye, doctor. Say thank you. Say thank you for your job. Bye.
Bye, Michelle.
I say thank you.
Oh, wow.
Thank
She's grown up so
you.
much.
Thank you for making me. Blow 'em a kiss. Blow 'em a kiss. Bye.
Bye,
That's it.
everyone.
She's back to watching Mighty Mite. All right. Thank you, Chen. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I'm really glad we all got to join on this. All right. I'm going to hit end meeting. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye, everybody.
Cheers to all of you. Stay safe.
Chen.
Bye. Oh, parents, you're welcome to go off mute and say thank you. That's actually very cute. Thank you for reminding me. Let's go off mute.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate your time.
Thank
Of
you.
course. Of
Thank
course.
you, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care now.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep.